Okay.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Candid Cleaning Conversations.
And today, I actually have my long lost student, Mr. Kenny, on the other line. I'm so happy that you were able to join us on this boring Sunday. This beautiful.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you asking me. That means a lot.
Yes. So, Kenny, first and foremost, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company name,
Sure.
you're from, a little backstory.
That's right.
Okay, so the name of our company is Sea Clear Cleaning Services. We've been in business now approaching 35 years. We do janitorial cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing, and a few other little things here and there that we focused on over the years. But that's the way we got started is I grew up in the restaurant business.
Okay.
And if you can do restaurant work, you can do anything. Just because, restaurant and retail, because it is so, you learn the whole gamut, especially in the restaurants. You learn the P&Ls, you learn how to deal with people, you learn how to be a quick thinker, that type of thing. So we had in the restaurant business, we had a gentleman, this has been years ago now, that did all of our locations, window cleaning wise. And he also did pressure washing. And I was running the market and that type of thing. And I told him, and this is, years ago, but I said, look, if I spend my downtime with you, my days off, my vacations, holiday, whatever, and you teach me to do what you're doing, so, this is before mentors and all the online, way before online and all that.
Right.
I said, well, you teach me everything you know, and I'll work for free to gain the knowledge. Well, I'm not going to be your competition because I'm going to be in a different market. But and he agreed to, and I did, and it worked out great. So that got the ball rolling, and that I'm a numbers person, so I ran the numbers on how things could be and laid my goals out from there. And there's been a lot of ups and downs like any other business. It's not been easy. If it was easy, everybody'd do it, then it wouldn't be worth anything, right?
That's right.
So that's how we got the ball started, and God's blessed us. We've been growing and hiring and gaining customers and going through the whole process.
Awesome.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm doing a revenue share with us.
Yeah. Okay. So as of this past year, our gross was a little over 600,000. For is where we, and awesome. It's a milestone. It's one of those things. And I hear, of course, plenty of the stories, the guys that are hitting way over $1 million, and that's totally great, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah.
I wanted to break that goal, and we've taken on some big accounts, and we're pushing, well over $1 million this year. So that's kind of where we are. So yeah, it's all good.
Now, I think the last time we talked to you, you won a big account.
Yes, it was 7-Elevens, right?
We did. It was 7-Elevens and Speedways. So basically, for those that don't know, those are convenience stores that are all over the South in general. And we put in a bid with another company. So let me back up and say this. It all comes back. There's no one thing in this business you're going to do that's a home run every time. It's just being consistent at the things you are doing.
Yeah. Right.
Now, of course, having a mentor to plug into helps tremendously, because you don't have to. Anyone starting a business today that has somebody to plug into can get to way past where I am in a so much shorter of a time, just because you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. But anyway, different markets that we plugged into, and we have gotten probably 90% of our business over the years, believe it or not, on Craigslist. A lot of people, don't, and of course you got to be expecting a certain amount of spam to come through, and you got to filter all that out. You know how that works. But there's no one thing you're going to do that's going to bring in all the business. It's kind of like, I refer to it as the popcorn theory. You got all these kernels of corn in there. You're popping off. Some's going to pop, some's going to not, some's going to burn, some's going to be good, bad, whatever. But you're feeding off the good stuff. And we've got quite a few different campaigns going on with different avenues of marketing. So that's kind of, new blood is the lifeline to any business. The minute you get comfortable and say, okay, I'm where I need to be, all it takes is losing one big account and you're back to where you were 20 years ago if you're not careful. So anyway, that's
right. So you had
but yes, we did. We secured
700 or something like that. How many 7-Elevens was it that you won? 700?
708.
Wow.
708 convenience stores, and this is window cleaning and pressure washing. So, and we've got now, we don't have 100 employees that we sub all that out to. I mean, that work for us that do that. We sub it out to people that we've worked with before and people that we're training, and that's earning our business, so to speak. I don't want to say become the middleman, but they work with us as subcontractors. So that's worked out really well.
Okay. So you basically use the team that you already have to cover all 700?
I do. Now, I did bring on a few more in other states that nobody wanted to go to for my market because it was so far away.
Yeah.
And met with them and got them up and trained and running. And of course, 90% of my job now is follow up. So that's where there's an old saying, your fortune lies in your follow up, right?
Yeah.
If you get comfortable, the worst phone call you want to get is from someone and they say, hey, why is your guys doing this? And you don't want to be the one to say, hey, well, I didn't know they were doing that,
Wow.
So
that big account came to you through Craigslist?
It did. We've consistently, for many, many years, once a week, we'll put a little $5 ad on Craigslist. And it's just about being consistent.
Right.
Okay, let's say you go a whole month and nobody responds. So what? You spent $20. You can't do that at McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And you just keep going at it that way. And there's different avenues of marketing. We've used that. We've used Nextdoor. We've done some stuff with them, and a little bit of Yelp, and just different things. So there again, no 100% of comes from just one thing. You may not hear anything for 6 months from one avenue, but then all of a sudden it's a grand slam, that type of thing.
Wow. So I definitely got to take a deep dive, Kenny. Your story is truly inspirational. Like everything since you came into the academy, I'm like, you know what? This guy, he's going to succeed.
He's like to kick butt.
Yeah,
thank you.
So before I take a deep dive into the 7-Elevens, I hear you say that you started out doing restaurants, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that like on the back end, like the back of the house or the front of the house?
Yeah, that was the front of the house.
Okay.
I knew a little bit about the back of the house. I had a buddy of mine that specialized in that, and I knew just enough about it to know that I personally didn't want to deal with the back of the house. That was the worst. That was the hardest. That was the hardest. It was the worst. It was the nastiest. It was just a lot of moving. But you know what? If you're willing to do what somebody else is not willing to do, the old saying, you'll have what they won't have. But it's great money for people that's willing to deep dive into that and get nasty and crawl around in the grease. I just didn't want my business going through that market. So I've been staying with the front of the house.
Okay, good. How are you able to bid on an account like that? Like, how do you even start to bid on something?
Yes, 700.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. So there's another company that reached out to me because we've had relationships over the past, and they said, hey, Kenny, nobody else has been able to handle an account this big. Would you be willing to put your name in the hat and get a plan together of how it's going to be accomplished? And I did that, put it all in writing. Now I will say, and gave it to them, and then it didn't move as fast as I wanted it to. It never does, but that's okay. That gives you time to train people, right? Sometimes when you go too fast, it's it doesn't do as well. So that's kind of how that part went. It went a little bit slower, but it did come to fruition, and now they're reaching out to me for other things. But I want to, in our company, I want to focus on maybe 3 things and do them really well, rather than try to focus on 10 things and be above average or whatever at them.
Right.
I'd rather stick and do a few things, because there again, this day and time, the one thing I love about the restaurants, this day and time, every restaurant you go into is shorthanded. I mean, not just restaurants, I mean, retail, whatever, right? Which means their facilities are getting really dirty because it's all those people can do to have time to wait on people, right?
Right.
So it really sets up a good market for folks in the cleaning business to come in and say, hey, here's what I'm noticing. Here's your pain points that I've noticed, and here's how I can help you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at that point, at that point, it's a numbers game. And when you talk to them, you have to speak their language. I was in the food business, so I knew their pain points. I knew their P&Ls. I knew, what their labor percentage is versus their sales percentage and the economics and all that back stuff. So that was kind of advantageous. But one thing I will say is this business is so much about personal relationships. Only because, and that's great, because let's say you pick up a huge contract and you got a good personal relationship with this guy. Well, that guy in that position at one point is probably going to change companies and go somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's already knows you to take you somewhere else, and then you're going to be plugging in with the new guy coming. Right. So then I don't want to say you've doubled your business, but you've definitely put your name out there twice as much with just that one contact, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Because I know you guys have gotten jobs from, hey, this guy used to be here, now he's here, and he called us up. That type of thing. Because we already had that relationship.
They're always changing their name. Like, it'll be the same company, but they'll change their name to something else. I really
correct.
So I know that you were saying about, as far as the restaurant, but I know a lot of people may not know what P&L is. We know what P&L is.
Of course.
I heard you say that a second time. Can you tell the people what P&L means?
Yeah. So profit and loss statement is what it is, right? So if you're in business, one of the most important things to know is your numbers. Right. There's nothing worse than a business out here, a new person, and you ask them, okay, so you bid the job at $100, let's just say. What's your profit margin on $100? Well, they don't know. They just know they wanted to make $100. So and so that doesn't include there again, when you're an LLC like us, and you guys are too, is there's all kinds of stuff in there that $100 gets whittled down to $40 really quick. So that's where your P&L comes into play. That all the stuff that comes out. So basically, it's the bottom line is what you put in your pocket, right?
Yep.
Oh,
so
that's some good stuff right there. Now, do you mind telling us what exactly you bid on these accounts that were like 700, 711?
Okay. I had a good relationship with the gentleman that was calling me up to get the bid from us, right?
Right.
So the way we did it, I said, look, I'm going to give you a price because I know. So the way we work our numbers is we start, it's almost like building blocks, okay? But we start at the end and work backwards.
Right.
So if I say on this job, without me doing anything, I want to make about $300, $400 on each location. Well, then you start working backwards. Well, if I want to make 3, that means I'm going to have to, I always try to make sure my employees get the lion's share. Don't be greedy. They're the ones doing the work. Take care of them, right? Or they'll go somewhere else that somebody will take care of them.
That's right.
So I just start working backwards. I'm like, okay, this is how much I need to profit. This is how much I'm having to cover my overhead. This is our taxes, insurance, all that. So this is how much this is how many hours it's going to take them, whether it's 1 or 2 people. Anyway, long story short, after we ran all of our numbers, we bid each location at, somewhere a little bit bigger, between $600 and $700 per location. Okay.
Not bad.
So with that, and I'll share this with you, but after everything was done, we make just on those about $275 per location. Okay.
Dang.
So that's a pretty decent profit margin, and that's taking good care of my people, right?
Wow.
And they're covering their expense, and that's, that's everything taken care of. So
Good.
you figure 700 and some stores, and they've all got to be done by October the 18th, which we're on track for that. So
Good.
anyway, that's how we bid that job, that location. So,
That's
and of
why
course,
traveling. Every time we talk
oh
to
yeah,
people on the road,
yeah.
you got that
Well, we
account.
got
You were busy.
we've got North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia, and who do we got? Oh, Tennessee, of course.
Wow.
So
wow, man.
I mean, your story is truly inspirational. I mean, when you were in the academy, you used to send us pictures of you standing on the roof.
Oh yeah.
That I have is like a lot of people contact us, and when they contact us, they're like, "Well, I've been in this industry, but I want to come over to cleaning." So, how was it when you transitioned over from the restaurant cleaning to doing pressure washing? Like, what got you into doing pressure washing?
Well, the biggest thing, and I will say this, and you guys know this, people don't realize this business is hard. I mean, it is extremely hard. It's not for the lazy.
Right.
I hear people like, well, I'm going to get off work and go maybe spend 2 hours, do this, which is fine, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, we're blessed. We live in the Airbnb capital here, pretty much in the East Coast, here in Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, this area. So a lot of tourism and Airbnbs. But how did I get in, or what took me to that? Was that the question?
Yes, sir.
Or how did I get? Okay.
Yeah.
So basically the work ethic of cleaning. I grew up in a very strict household. My dad was ex-military, and he worked our hind ends off, which I hated it then, but now I'm like, thanks, Dad. That type of thing. But the part that got me into it is I didn't think I was like a whole lot better than the guys that I saw doing it. But I know I would be on time. I know that what I needed to do, because when you're in the food business, there's a lot of cleaning goes on. I mean, this is back in the day, and I knew that I could do the job. The hardest part, and I'll share just one of our pains with you at this point, that the hardest part I've ever had to deal with is when you start having subcontractors come in, having the payroll to cover them while you're waiting on your payroll, right? While you're waiting on checks coming from big companies.
Oh yeah.
When you've got I don't know, $30,000-$40,000 a week going out, and then you've got 30 days before your money comes in. Sometimes it's a juggling act until you get a pretty solid account build up. That's a little bit of it, but there's workarounds for that, and your course talks a lot about that. That really helped me a lot, because if someone, before I took your course, if some of these bigger companies were saying, well, we pay net 60 days, I'd be like, okay, if that's what you do. Not anymore. I'm like, no, this ain't Wells Fargo. This is how we got to do this in order to keep everybody happy.
For
right?
all that labor, and you gotta wait. A net 60 ain't even a net 60 no more.
Well,
it's
let me right. And here's the thing about it too is, even this may sound crazy, but $100,000 in your bank account can disappear really quickly when you're having to float a few weeks payroll.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it basically looks like a good heartbeat. It goes down and it goes all the way back up. So depending on so anyway, but that's kind of what got me in the business.
Wow.
I used to drive my wife crazy, because I'll be driving down the road, and even on vacation, and I'll see somebody pressure washing or window cleaning or doing something, or I'll see a cleaning van pull up. I'll just kind of watch them. I'm like, okay, let's see how the employees are dressed. Let's see if they're throwing cigarette butts down before they walk through the door, or let's, and it's an entrepreneur. It's not something you turn on and off, unfortunately. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You're constantly thinking about some aspect of it, right? But I mean, it's all about balance. I get that, but the business will definitely consume you if you let it. But you got to learn to have that balance, I guess, right?
keep your
Right.
mental health clear as an
That's
entrepreneur.
Yes.
definitely
You know,
true.
mental health and entrepreneurship, that's like one of my favorite topics. I love to listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have a strong mental for this game.
Oh,
Absolutely.
you do. Yeah.
Definitely,
You can't
definitely.
take things personal either.
No,
You
Yeah,
gotta
oh,
have
that's
thick
true.
skin.
oh no, you
That's true.
gotta have tough skin. So for
Yeah.
just to be clear, those 700 accounts, you're pressure washing those, or are you cleaning them?
Pressure washing and window cleaning.
And window
And
cleaning.
then some of them, yes, ma'am. And then some of them we're doing front of the house cleanings on. They've
Okay.
added that on. So
That is
Okay.
yeah.
so man, that's
Good.
awesome. I am proud of you, Kenny. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yes.
I knew you
Well,
were
thank you.
I
Thank
knew
you.
you would get into some real
It
money.
was well, it was definitely overwhelming at first, but here's the thing in this industry is you show up, you look professional, you act professional, you have your logo on your shirt, you look like an actual business. You don't look like, Joe Bob that went out here and bought something at Lowe's and now he's in business, right?
Right.
Anybody, just like anybody that's ever mopped a floor thinks they're in janitorial work. That's not how it works.
Right.
Um,
Right. How do you go about finding your contractors? You only have contractors, right?
yes, ma'am. We have no employees. How do we go about finding them? That's a good question. So there's a couple different ways. The way that has worked best for us is people that are already doing it for a living. And now let me back up and say this. It's okay on certain accounts to have a lady and her daughter that want to earn some extra money on the weekends. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that, right? But these 5 night a week accounts,
Yeah.
some of those, it's best to plug someone in who already has a business that's already treating it like a business.
That's
Right.
true. That's true.
Now you got to be careful on that. You don't want them going in and stealing your people. You got to monitor it, right? You have to have that. And we've started using the non-compete clause, which is, I don't want to beat those things up too much, because if somebody's going to steal an account from you, they're going to do it whether it's on paper or not, right? I mean, matter of fact, most of the people that have done work with us, if they say I'm looking for more work and I have an account that's making a little bit, but maybe just not a whole lot, sometimes I'll just merge them into that account and let that be their account. I mean, I give more than I take in a lot of
Right.
times, just because I like to help people. It always comes back to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if it didn't, it's still the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I have found from my experience that people that are already, it's about the individual, if they already have their own business going. And so I will reach out to other people that run ads. Like I called a guy the other day, Jason. He does janitorial work. I said, Jason, hey, this is Kenny. Just wanted to see, I've heard you do good work, blah, blah, blah. I said, we've got some accounts. Would you care to partner up on some accounts sometime with us to help us out?
Mm-hmm.
And I would meet with them and we'd go through all the do's and don'ts. And if I got a good feeling from him, great. If not, then we part ways, nothing gained, nothing lost. But it really just depends on that conversation. But it still all comes down to me. Even I'm using one of those guys. At the end of the day, if something screwed up, it's still my fault, right? I'm not going to say I'm using these guys, it's their fault. No, I'm the one they contact. I'm their main point of contact.
Right.
And I tell them, if you're going to go to one of my places, though, you got to be wearing one of my shirts, right? I don't want there to be any confusion, because all this stuff's on video these days. I don't want there to be any problems. So anyway, that's where I found mine. And as far as the age group and stuff like that, the ones that have done really good for me are these ones that says, look, I'm not looking to conquer the world, but I need to make some extra money.
Yeah.
Great. Let me help you. That type of thing. Because they're not going to try to steal your business, because number one, they don't know what to do. They don't have time. They don't want to do that. But they are good,
Good cleaners.
all good Indians don't make good chiefs, right?
They
So
don't.
that's
They don't. I'm
That's
telling
right.
that's what we do with that. So,
Right.
and I've had good and bad experiences with both. There again, there's no one thing to say this is how you do it every time. It's all about the person, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so
Okay.
All right. So I know we don't have that much time, but oh my gosh, you
Right.
just talking and I just bling, bling, bling. Question. So, all right. So I'm gonna try to go down the question list. I'm trying to remember. I had made like a mental note.
Yes, ma'am.
First
Right.
thing first is like a lot of people when they come to us, their trust is like burnt with like a lot of people, right? They don't want to hire people to clean because they're like, well, they're not gonna clean like me. So, first question, how were you able to like trust other people to clean the way that you clean? Like, how did you go about being able to trust them?
Okay, that's a good question. So the big thing is one thing I have found out is most people want to do a good job. They just need guidance. And that, to me, that comes down to checklist.
Yeah.
Okay. If you expect to hire someone, give them the address to a property and say, go by and clean it, then expect problems because you've set them up for failure.
Yeah.
So you or one of your supervisors or somebody within your company will have to go down there and train them. Okay, this is because every customer has their hot points.
Right.
One company, it may be bathrooms, one may be kitchen, one office may be like, hey, as long as that trash can right there is emptied every day, we're happy. That type of thing.
Right.
So to answer your question is the trust, okay, trust and stuff like that has to be earned. Nobody just walks in the door and gives it, because when you interview anybody, everybody walks on water until they get out there and find something different, right?
Right.
So I think the biggest thing that helps is going out there and say, look, I'm coming out here tonight. Me and you are going to do a total walkthrough, or my supervisor is going to meet you and we're going to do a total walkthrough and we're going to make our checklist. Okay. And then I think the biggest thing is setting a level of expectation. Okay. Trust. I trust everyone until they give me a reason not to.
Okay.
If someone's got red flags against them, that's okay. People overcome things all the time.
Right.
But, I will say, by the time I've gotten rid of you, you've had so many chances. Because, it's, my biggest thing is being on time. I had this one girl, I loved her to death. She did a great job, but she, for the life of her, could never be on time to the job. And they had to be on time because they wouldn't leave until somebody showed up. The customer wouldn't leave till somebody showed up. And they was, that way they could do something with the alarm, and it was a bank. But anyway, that's kind of what we do on that end. It all goes back to the initial training and expectations. And as far as trust, and don't get me wrong, there's people I've hired that I've totally trusted and it didn't work out. And it's just a numbers game for me on that.
Right.
But I would say 95% of the people that we use for subs do a good job. And sometimes, they need a little correction as they're going. Nobody's going to be perfect all the time, right? None of us are perfect people, but you want to get them to where if they miss things, it's few and far between.
Definitely got to let them know, because we got to be careful with contractors, because we can't necessarily say we train them,
Right?
But
that is correct. You're absolutely right.
Got to give them that checklist, and they have to meet our expectations, or else they lose the account.
That's true.
Basically,
That's correct. Right.
And then that's good. You follow behind them and point out all of the bad stuff, and they need to get it together because they're the expert. Okay.
Right. And the big thing too that we've found out that we have to be careful with is, even after someone does really good, everyone needs a reset every now and then.
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
Still have to go follow up on them every now and then, just drop in out of the blue, just to kind of see what's going on. Because you can't be there all the time. That's not the point of the business. So it's good. They get comfortable. They
do. They do, especially when they know ain't no eyes on them. Oh my God, the whole ship will start. I'm telling you.
Okay.
If you're a good worker and you don't like being looked over all the time, this can really be a good business for you, because a lot of the work you do, nobody's there, right? You're just there by yourself. It's all on the trust factor.
Yeah, that's why I like the contractor model.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Contractors are definitely the way to go because they have, for lack of a better word, they have some skin in the game because their reputation's out there too.
Right. What would you say your biggest takeaway would be from joining Tenacity Academy?
Oh man, so many. I guess one of the biggest ones is sometimes when you're out here doing the business and you start going through things in your mind, you think, man, I'm the only one that's ever had to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then you get online and you realize, welcome to the family, right? Everybody's dealing with it.
Yeah.
Or it's, sometimes when you own the business or you're whatever, people are always coming to you for answers, but you got to have somebody to go to talk to as well.
Right.
And that's for me has been huge because we all kind of experience the same things and we get different answers on how to handle it. I mean, literally, you can find one answer that makes the whole course worth all the time and energy and that type of thing. But
Right.
I think the biggest thing is just hearing, for me, because I've been in the business a while, is hearing the excitement in other people's voices and how they're ready to start and how they're ready to get the ball rolling. I just wish I would have had somebody like you guys years ago. Because literally you could have shaved so many mistakes off my business all these years.
Oh
And
yeah.
just could have started, but that's okay. I mean, it's you're tracking life kind of. There's an old saying, life's like a grinding stone. It'll either wear you down or polish you up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's but plugging in has been phenomenal. I wish I could have plugged in a lot more, but had other demands at that time. But for
you
honey,
got
for a new person starting out, my gosh, I mean, your business, the way it's put together, your business model, it's almost like having somebody back at the office you can call anytime you need them to, hey, what do I do now?
right.
And it's that step-by-step guide. I love it.
Right.
Hey,
Well,
hey, we
I mean,
appreciate it, man.
you just saying all of that, Kenny, like we definitely do appreciate, all the support and the feedback, just from Tenacity Academy. And I know it's a lot of people out here who are in business, they're just starting out, but just from your perspective of how long you've been in business, what would you say would be key factors in running a successful business, just dealing with life be life and sometimes and just living with the attitude workers, having to deal with payroll, not knowing if you're going to have the payroll because you're waiting on the money. Like,
Right.
what are some things that you would tell someone that's getting started how to prevent those mistakes and make those mistakes turn to millions?
Oh, we're getting back on.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we ran out of time there.
Oh, it's
Did it
okay.
cut off?
It just said that, because we're on the hot spot.
But it's still going.
Yeah, it's still going.
All right, let me